The exercise files for today's course are located in the video description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Welcome to Computer Basics, where we will learn the fundamentals of computing. My name is Mo Jones, IT professional and educator. This course is for you if you are using a computer for the first time. Maybe you have not used a computer in quite a while, or maybe you're just kind of getting started with using computers. We've got you covered in this course. This is what we will learn. We will first take a look at how technology impacts us today. You also learn, well, what is a computer? What's the big fuss about computing? Why is it so important? Why does it have such a huge impact on us today? And we'll take a look at the ingredients of a computer. So what makes up a computer? Just like a cake, we have different ingredients. What makes a computer? And then we'll take a look at what is software and how do we use it. What software is available with a computer? If you were to purchase a computer today, what software would be available for that particular computer? So that's what we'll go ahead and cover today.
Looking to support our channel and get a great deal? Become a member today to unlock ad-free videos. That's right, your favorite courses without a single ad. Interested in a specific video? Purchase one of our ad-free courses individually. Looking for even more? Gain access to exams, certificates, and exclusive content at learnitanytime.com. More information can be found in the video description below.
Let's answer this big question. How does technology impact us today? Well, that is a very broad question, and it merits a very, very long answer. So we'll just focus on the basics here. So how does technology impact us today? Well, at the very basic level of technology, it basically aids us in performing different tasks. So tasks that we would normally, take a very long time for us to complete, technology can aid us to either complete that task more efficiently or faster or more accurately. For example, think about handwriting a message and delivering it via mail. If you have a friend that's in the next city over, it may take some time for that actual message to get to your friend. Well, what if your friend lived in another state or another country? Take a very, very long time for that message to get to them. But if you use what's called email or electronic mail, just typing a message, you can send it out, travels at the speed of light, and your friend will get that message instantly. So that's kind of one example of how technology impacts us today. Now, handwriting a message and sending it out versus typing a message and sending it instantly through the means of technology or a computer, that's just one example of how technology is impacting us today. Now, there are other ways that technology impacts us in a good, in some positive ways and some negative ways as well. There are some risks with technology. At the very least, here's what computers do. Computers, they basically store information. Once the information is stored, the information can be processed in the form of answering a question, and then the information can be output. So if you can think of computers, these three concepts right here: storing information, processing information, and outputting information. That's pretty much what technology allows us to do on a daily basis. Now, I do have this highlighted here in red. Some technology will perform physical tasks for us. So this is where a lot of discussion happens because obviously there's a lot of positives for this. For example, sending out, rescue robots on rescue missions. Maybe there was a building that collapsed and you can send a robot to go in to search for survivors. But then we have other, just kind of risks with robots going rogue, if you will, and many other, automation that can be seen as risky in our environment as well. But at the very least, this is how technology is impacting us. Technology is growing very, very rapidly, and technology is now replacing a lot of things that we would normally have, completed manually. Now we're seeing cars that are driving themselves. and we're seeing drones that are flying themselves as well. Your refrigerator can let you know when your food is empty and it's time for you to restock. So just many different ways that technology impacts us today. At the end of the day, the most important thing is that we are being responsible when using technology. We want to focus on the positive aspects of technology. We want to respect everyone's privacy and to use it for our benefit. In continuing our discussion about technology, one very popular and common use of technology is the web. We usually refer to this as the web or the internet. It's officially known as the World Wide Web. So if you take a look at the URL when you're typing in a message, you'll see www at the front. That's because you're accessing the World Wide Web. Now, you may have seen this. Maybe you've taken a peek at your friend's phone, or maybe you've picked up a phone and you took a look you opened up Google or Edge or Firefox or Safari, and you'll notice that you have a web page that allows you to search for information. Well, it's the same concept. The web is used by billions of people on a daily basis, and the amount of data that's stored on the World Wide Web is beyond our comprehension. But at the very level, it does the same thing. Information is stored in many different places on actual computers, and then information is shaped and readily available or processed in this case. Maybe we're asking a question. So when we're searching for information, the question is being run through the computer, searches for those results, and then it's presented to us. Now, information is accessed by billions globally on a daily basis. Here's an example of the web. So here's a Google Chrome browser, very popular browser. And we can see it just comes with different elements. So up here we can see this is the address bar. So this is where we'll type in the name of the website or computer that we want to access. Down here we have a search bar. So down here we can search for something that we're looking for. We can even use our microphone to search for something. Or we can also even upload an image to get a little idea of what it is that we're searching for. So I'll just go ahead and just type in a quick question here. So I'll say, what is computing? And when I press enter, it's accessing billions and billions and trillions of data sets that's been stored. And it's automatically kind of filtered through all of that data and returning relevant results for us based on what is computing. And so here we just get a nice little dictionary definition of what computing is. If I scroll down, I can get some more examples, a lot of different other websites. So here's Wikipedia. So they have their own series of computers that's storing information. And when we access these different websites, we're actually accessing information that's being stored on those computers, right? Here's some other ones here from universities, from organizations, from dictionaries. We even had videos in here explaining what technology is or computing is. So a lot of different things, but this is just a great example of how we can put that into practice. We're accessing data that's already stored. When we ask a question, that data is being processed, and then we're provided with the output. So we're accessing the same data that billions of people worldwide are able to access. So if you were to go to another country and type in what is computing, you get a lot of these similar results here, maybe in a different language based on the country that you're in. But for the most part, all of these sources are coming back for us in real time. So I think the main thing to know about here, about the World Wide Web, is that to access the World Wide Web, you need a browser. Right? So that's kind of the first part. You need a web browser to be able to access the World Wide Web. The World Wide Web comes with either an address bar here, where we can actually type in the actual address that we're looking for. This could be something like youtube.com or amazon.com. And then it also comes with a search feature. So those are the basics, right? We could search for info. So those are the basics with the World Wide Web, or maybe you want to call it the internet, or maybe you just want to call it the net. It's all pretty much the same thing. Data is input. We're processing the information, and the information is readily made available for us. What is a computer? Well, I just used a computer to access information on the World Wide Web. I was able to open up a web browser and access data that is stored on other computers on the World Wide Web. But what exactly is a computer? Yes, it is a physical device. But before we take a look at the physical aspects of a computer, let's remember the logic of a computer, and that it does three basic things. It allows us to input information. It allows us to, or it performs processing of that information for us. And it also outputs that information. So input, process, output. When you're using your phone, which is an actual computer as well, because it goes through the same process, you're inputting information. Maybe you're asking a question from an assistant like Google Assistant or Siri, and your phone is going to process that information. It takes the voice command that you gave it, goes through its huge data storage, finds what you're looking for, and provides you with the information that you're looking for. And the means of output, either by displaying the information on your screen or by giving you some audio as well. So that's what a computer is. Now, we do have different components of a computer. We have hardware, which are the physical components of a computer. We'll take a look at that on the next slide. And we have software. So we have hardware, but we need some type of software in order for them to kind of talk to each other. And then we also have some type of security. We want to make sure that the data that we're accessing is always available and that it always maintains its integrity. Let's take a look at hardware. Now, I opened up the back of an older laptop that I had laying around, and this is kind of what it looks like in the back. So you'll see the orange part there, that's the storage. So that is the hard drive or the hard disk. The purple, that's the memory. So the memory helps in processing the information that we are requesting. And then the blue, this little card right here, this is an actual network card or a wireless card, right? So this is what allows us to connect to to connect to the web. And then finally, we have another one, which is called the CPU. Now, the CPU, typically, we don't have access to this. I would need to remove about 15 more screws, remove this plastic panel so that I can get to the CPU. The CPU is the central processing unit. It's a very tiny device, and it processes millions of instructions per second. So these are the different components. Now, we don't have to worry about them. They're securely enclosed in the back of our phone or a tablet or a computer, and they just work. So they do all the work in the background, but I just wanted to show us just kind of the different components. These are the basic components here, right? So again, here's our hard drive or our hard disk. They kind of look like this now. So the newer hard drives, they kind of look like this. They are pretty thin, look like a little card. And then, of course, we have our connectivity. And there's a lot of other components on here, such as other places, different slots that you can plug things into. We can see we have a speaker right here. We have microphones, keyboards, a lot of different aspects of it. But for the most part, these are the main components. Storage, memory, need to be able to connect to the network, and they need to be able to process the information. So we can see all of those elements are right in here. So remember, we talked about inputting information. So the information is stored on the hard disk. And then the CPU processes the information for us. And typically the network can be used to output the information for us as well. And of course, memory is aiding in all of these different options here as well. So that's a quick rundown with how computers work. What is a computer? What are the different components of a computer? When we come back, we'll take a look at the other aspects, which is the software. So we'll take a look at the software components and the security components as well. The other components of a computer system is software and security. Now, software is another word, or another way of just saying apps. For daily computer operators, we typically use the phrase apps. Sometimes we can even call it software applications. For example, if we wanted to use electronic mail, here's a application or software application called Outlook. Remember we discussed earlier about writing a message electronically and sending it to our friend in another city, state, or country, and they'll receive that message at the speed of light. That is what that allows us to do. So all these different software applications, they allow us to do different things. If we wanted to access the World Wide Web, we can use Microsoft Edge or Google Chrome, and we can type in the address that we're looking for, or we can go ahead and search for information as well. We have the clock. So different time zones tells the time. We have alarms. We have timers on there. If we want to go ahead and create a document, such as a flyer or a resume, we can use Microsoft Word for that. We'll cover that a little later. If we want to create presentations, we have what's called PowerPoint. So we can create slides and communicate messages clearly to our audience. And then, of course, for more spreadsheet and number crunching and data collection, we have Microsoft Excel. We'll cover these a little later. The other aspect of computing is security. In this case, we'll focus on the Windows security system when we take a look at the Windows computer here. Now, the main thing with security, we want to make sure that all these applications that we are accessing, that they are doing what they're supposed to do, that they're providing us with the correct information, and that they're sending the information exactly where we say it should go. So security will keep an eye on these applications, make sure that they're safe for us to use, make sure that, your data is not being stolen or whatever you're inputting is not being spied on. So that's what security is for. Security covers more than just software. It also protects the hardware on your computer and all the components of computing as well. So between hardware, software, and security, we have a fully functional computer system that allows us to interact with it, use it safely, and interact with data that is authentic and applications that work exactly as they are supposed to work. Now let's take a look at operating systems. Now, operating systems is a type of software, but it's the primary software for a computer. Now, if you walked into a store, you may recognize some of these icons here. These are different operating systems. So if you're picking up a computer, you may see this icon. If you're picking up a phone, you may see this icon. Or if you're picking up another type of computer. If you're picking up something like a Chromebook, you may see this icon here. So these are different operating systems, and they're used for laptops, phones, and tablets. So every phone, laptop, or tablet that you use, they're using some type of operating system. Some are simple, some are more complex, and some offer more features or less than others. And at the end of the day, you're just going to go ahead and choose which operating system works best for you. So what do all these mean? Well, this is the Windows operating system. This is the Chrome. So if you get a Chromebook, you'll get the Chrome operating system. And here's Mac. So this is Mac, the Mac operating system as well. Let's take a deeper dive into operating systems. Now, what does an operating system do? Now, an operating system pretty much glues everything together. So it controls all the operations of a computer system. We need something to make the hardware talk to the software and the applications and the security. And we need some type of way to interact and request information and view information. So the operating system provides a graphical user interface. So instead of just looking at code, ones and zeros and X's and O's, we're actually seeing pictures on our screen, boxes and different shapes that we can interact with. A folder icon looks just like a folder, right? A video icon just looks like a video camera. Operating systems have a file and folder structure. Whether you're using a phone, laptop, or tablet, there is a file and folder structure. You need to be able to access files and folders. Of course, it also controls the security. So the operating system will need some type of security to make sure that it's up and running. The operating system can keep an eye on the security system, and the security system can keep an eye on the operating system. And of course, we can access the apps through the operating system as well. So in a nutshell, that's what the operating system will allow us to do. We are going to take a look at the Windows operating system, and we'll spend most of our time there seeing how we can take advantage of the graphical user interface, the file and folder structure, the applications, and the security as well. Let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is to locate the power button and turn on the computer. So if you're using a laptop, you should see a button typically on the top left or the top right of the actual laptop. This one is kind of in the middle. You click on the button that turns on the laptop. If you're using something that looks like this is a desktop computer because it fits on your desktop. It's type of big and clunky, but it's very, very powerful. Typically, they're more powerful than laptops. Just click on the power button, and that will allow you to be up and running. Now, once you click on that power button, you should be presented with some type of startup, but in this case, you'll be presented with a screen that looks like this. Again, this is Windows 10. So here is Windows 10. If I go ahead and click on the screen, it's asking me to log in. So I simply need to just go ahead and put my password, and I can go ahead and log in. So I'll put my password, and I can press enter, or I can just click on submit here. And this will log you in with the credentials that you provided. And here we go. So here is our actual Windows 10 operating system. Now the operating system, just kind of taking a look at it, we just have a couple of different components here. So we have the desktop. So this entire blue area here is the desktop. On the desktop, on my screen here, I have the recycle bin. This is where I find my deleted files. Here's the Google Chrome web browser. And here's the Microsoft Edge web browser as well. So I can add more icons on here if I want to. I can right click and I can create something new, a new folder. So I'll go ahead and add a new folder. And once I have that new folder, I can move it around and I can go ahead and rename it if I want to. So just by right clicking on the desktop, a lot of different things you can do. I can increase or decrease the size of my icons. I can sort my icons here or my apps by name. I can create a new folder and different apps on here as well. I can also change the display settings and personalize it. Maybe I want some different colors. In this case, I just was able to right click and create a new folder. And I'll go ahead and rename this. So I'll right click on that folder. So again, right clicking gives us a lot of capabilities to do a lot of things in Windows. I'll go ahead and click on rename. And I'll just call this desktop items. I'll press enter and I'm good to go. So that's the first part. That is our desktop. Now down here towards the bottom, we have this bar on the bottom here. This is the taskbar. So the taskbar comes with some interesting things here. To the far left, you'll see the start menu. If I click on this little start menu here, it pulls up the start menu. This is a combination of different applications that I can use. So for example, here's Google Chrome, here's my mail, here's the clock, here's the camera, the calendar. And if I scroll down, there's a lot of different applications that I can access. These just come built in. We can always install applications later on if we want to add more detail in here. We can also access documents. So if I move my mouse to the left here and I click on documents, I can pull up my documents folder. Right? So here's the structure of our computer. We have our desktop. We can see that folder that I created is showing up here. We have a downloads folder. So typically when you download information, it downloads into this folder, unless you specify that it needs to be saved somewhere else. And here's documents. So this is typically where you have all of your documents that you have saved. Windows 10 does have an area for pictures, for music, for videos. And then of course, we have OneDrive. If you sign up for a Microsoft account, you can access your files on Microsoft's computers and not your computer. And of course, we have the network here as well. I'll go ahead and close this out. So that is the start menu that's accessible from the taskbar. If I head on over to the right, we have search in here. So I can actually just click in here and I can search. What's really nice is if I wanted to search for an application, let's say I wanted to search for Google Chrome, it's another way. I don't have to click on the start menu and search for it. I can just type it right here and I can launch it. As a matter of fact, if I just click here, this actually launches that browser for me. So I can type in the address where I want to go, or I can go ahead and search for an item in here as well. So we have our desktop, we have our taskbar on the bottom, and we have our start screen, or start menu rather. We'll see also on the taskbar that we have some icons here. So if I want to go ahead and access Microsoft Edge, I can access it right from here. If I want to take a look at my folders, it's called File Explorer. So here I can access items on my desktop, documents, downloads, pictures, videos, and or music. Over to the far right, we have some combination of our task, right? So we have notifications in here. We have our clock. We have our volume control. We have our power control, and we have our internet connection down here as well. So a lot of different things that we can do. Again, it's just providing us a lot of information right now. But those are the main components of an operating system: the desktop, the start menu, and the taskbar. And down over here in the bottom right, we have our status area. Now, let's do a few more things here. So again, here's the desktop. Again, if you click on the right side of your mouse, so your mouse should have two buttons, one for your index finger and one for either your middle finger or your ring finger. If you click on the button on the right, you get a nice list of options here. So for example, maybe I want to change the size of my icons. I'll change those to small icons. We can see it's a little smaller, not as pixelated. If I right click again, I can sort by name. I currently sorted by name actually, so nothing happens. And I can also take a look at the display settings. So I can do things like change the background if I want to. Maybe I want a solid color. Maybe I would like another image. I can also personalize it here. We'll just take a look at some of the basic display settings and just some basic personalization here. I'll click on display settings. And this brings me to the display settings dialog. Now, this is just a part of the higher settings dialog. Another way to get to the settings, if I click on the start menu here, I'll see the settings icon right here. And if I click here, that pretty much does the same thing. It's going to open up this window for me. And in this window, I have all the different options that I need to be able to manage what's going on. I can see my resolution currently. I'm at 1280 by 720. And I can turn on the night light. The night light pretty much just kind of dims the screen at night when you're working. I'll click back on the home here. And you can see there's a lot of different things here that I can do. I can manage the system, the display, the sound, the notifications, the power. I can add or manage access to different Wi-Fi or VPN, or put my computer in airplane mode. I have personalization, so I can change the background, change the different colors that are in here. So a lot of things that we can do. So typically when I buy a new computer and I kind of just open it up, I start just personalizing it in here. We also have update and security. Well, let's just take a look at some personalization, and then we'll take a look at some update and security as well. So when it comes to personalization, it's all about the background. So if I wanted to change it to a picture, I can do that. Maybe I'll change it to this nice picture here. And you can see it's changed it to that picture in the background for me. If you have your own picture, you can add your own picture there just by clicking on the Browse button here. But I can change the picture that appears in the background if I want to. If I scroll down, that's pretty much it from here. If I go back, I'll go ahead and maximize this screen. So we have 3 buttons at the top of every window. We can minimize, we can maximize, or we can close. If I click on the minimize button here, it doesn't close it, it just kind of minimizes it. So if I need to access it again, I can click on it here on my taskbar. If I wish for it to take up the entire screen, I can click on maximize. Now I can see more content on one screen as well. Right. So just different things in here that I can use. Now over on the left panel, we have colors. So if I would like to change the colors, I can do that. Right now I'm using dark colors. If I click on light colors, then that kind of brightens things up a little bit. Right. So we can see everything is nice and bright now. I can go into that mode. We have transparency effects. That just kind of makes everything transparent. All of my icons down here. I'll leave that turned on. And we can pick an accent color. So the accent colors will appear, in different windows when you open them. Right now, I'm having Windows automatically pick an accent color for me. So I'm good to go, but I can always choose that. If I want a blue accent color, I can go ahead and choose that. I'll scroll down. I can show the accent colors in different places, such as title bars and window borders, if I want to do that. I'll go ahead and maximize this again. And then we have other things like the lock screen. If you want to choose a theme, there are built-in themes in Windows. So you can go ahead and just go ahead and select one. So here are a few different themes that you can use. So you can feel free to lock in any of those themes. Right. They do change a lot of things. They change the colors, the way that the fonts appear as well. So we can see how that's changing here as well. I'll go back and maximize this, and I'll go back to the basic theme here, and I'll go ahead and stick to that. And so those are just some of the basics that we can use. If you want to customize the start menu, you can do that as well. Right. If you want to, for example, if you want to see the apps that you use the most, I'll go ahead and turn that on. And we have the taskbar. So the taskbar displays a lot of information. So you can choose how you want your taskbar to behave. Right? So maybe I want some smaller buttons. I can see those buttons are much smaller now that I can use. All right. So I'll go ahead and close this out. And I'm back to my desktop here. The other things to mention on the desktop, on the bottom right here in the status area, you can click on the little notification icon. And it's a combination of things. You can view any notifications that are being displayed. Right now it's telling me that I need to go ahead and, well, it's saying that Microsoft Windows Defender ran a scan, did not find anything fishy, so that's good. Down here in the bottom, I can go ahead and click on these buttons, more like a phone app. So I can go ahead and click on these buttons and either turn on my location, turn on the night light, or different things like that as well. So those are some of the basic things that we can do. Again, we'll spend most of our time either launching an app or searching the File Explorer to look for a particular file that we have created. Now it's time to take a look at some security. So I'll go ahead and click back on my Start menu here. And I'll go back to settings. So I'll click here on settings. And down here, I can see update and security. Now I can actually type it in here if I want to. I'll go ahead and click on update and security. And let's take a look at some of the security settings. But let's see if we can get some information about our system so far. So I'll go here first. So I'll click on, let's see, I'll scroll down to About. And this gives us a little information about our computer, right? So this tells me that I'm using this is the CPU that I'm using, Intel Core i7, 11th generation. Here's the memory. So I have 8 gigs of RAM allocated to this machine. And let's see, if I scroll down, I can see I'm using Windows 10 Professional. Here's the installation date, and here is some other information. So just like on your phone, you have the About. You also have the About on your computer. Computers had it first, phones borrowed it from computers. So here's all the information. So if you're ever asked, well, do you meet the requirements? Do you have at least 4 gigs of RAM? Do you have at least Windows 10 or higher? You can click on About, and here's where you can check for your system information. Let's see, if I click on storage, here it is. So this lets me know how big my hard drive is. So here's my local disk. And it shows me I'm using 33 gigabytes. I have 15 gigabytes free. Not a lot for a computer. Right. I'll go back to home and let's take a look at update and security. Now, here is where we just kind of keep an eye on our security. So again, Windows has security built in, and if you have any issues, it will notify you in the notification area. You can also come here and kind of do a checkup. So this is telling me that I'm not up to date. My last update was checked 8:35 a.m. So I can click on check for updates, and I can kind of just change the behavior here. I typically just leave these alone. It runs on its own in the background. And if something happens, it pretty much notifies me. Now you can pay for other security settings. There's a lot of other security software providers out there. For me personally, over the last decade or so, I've been fine with just using Windows security. It does not cause as many problems with the operating system. Some other programs, they kind of annoy you. They get constant alerts and they slow down your system. I'll go ahead and click on check for updates. And let's see what this will do for me. And again, I'm good to go. If I just want to check for updates, I can change the active hours. I can view the history. I can see right here, it's updating the security for me. Now remember, when it comes to security, it's a constant back and forth between those who are trying to break in your system. They find different holes or doors, virtual doors into your system. And then the good guys figure out where the door is and they close the door. And the process kind of repeats itself as well. So that's pretty much how security works. So you always want to make sure that you're checking for updates to make sure that you are up to date. So when it comes to security, it's doing the work for you. Not much that you need to do there. At least for modern computing, 12 years ago, that was a really big issue. But much better job with the built-in tools that are being used. So just make sure that your system is constantly updating and you'll be good to go. Let's take a look at Microsoft Word. Well, what is Microsoft Word? Well, Microsoft Word is an application or software. It can also be known as a software application or application software. Well, what can we do with Microsoft Word? It's a very popular application for Microsoft Windows. Well, we can create or modify a flyer, for example. We can also create a research paper. It's very common for resumes to be created from Microsoft Word. Let's take a look at a few different ways that we can access Microsoft Word. I can either go to access Word online, or I can go ahead and access it on my Windows 10 computer. Now, your Windows 10 computer does not come with Microsoft Word. You have to purchase it. Well, it depends. If you purchased a special Windows 10 computer that has Word on it, Microsoft Office, that's perfectly fine. But as you can see, I don't have it here. So I can click on the Microsoft Store and I can search for Microsoft Word. So I can do that. So once I click here, here's the store, just like phones have their own app stores. I'll type Word in here and here's Microsoft Word. So I have two options. Here's the app and here's Microsoft Word that's included in Microsoft 365. Well, let's see if I click here. Let's see what happens. And it says Word is part of Microsoft 365 Personal. So again, Microsoft 365 Personal, this is something that we will need to purchase. And it's $69.99 for the year or $6.99 per month. It comes with all these nice applications: Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Security, Outlook, Clipchamp, OneNote. So these are all really nice applications that we can use to be productive as well. So I'm going to show you how you can use it for free though. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Microsoft Edge. It's right here on my taskbar. I'll go ahead and click on it. So here's the Microsoft Edge browser. At the very top, it's asking me to sign in. So if I click on sign in, I can go ahead and do that. I'm not signed in. I'll go to office.com. So step one is to open up a browser. Step two, go to office.com. And from here is where you can access Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all those applications that we just saw from the Microsoft Store. We can access them for free on office.com. Let me just go ahead and get this to load. So once I got it to load, I can go ahead and sign in. Or if I don't have a Microsoft account such as Outlook, I can go ahead and sign up for the free version of Microsoft 365. So if I click here, pretty much just need to go ahead and sign up. I can create an account or I can get a new email address. So I'll go ahead and get a new email address. It's either going to be an Outlook.com address or a Hotmail.com address. Once you go ahead and enter in your email and set up your password, then you'll be up and running with office.com. Now, once you log in, you will be presented with this page. It says, "Welcome to Microsoft 365." And up here is the app launcher. So if you were to click here, you can access several apps for free. Now, the main difference is they are free, but they're somewhat limited, right? So you don't have the full functionality that you would have if you were to pay for it and install it on your computer. But to be honest, I've been using Microsoft Office for a very long time, and I'm pretty okay with using the free version to get what I need to get done. I can also click down here in the bottom left. If I click on apps, this shows me the different apps that I have access to. So here's Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook. So clicking on either of these icons will pull up those applications for us. The great thing about this is they save automatically, and we don't really need to do anything special. Again, if I click here, I can open Word. Let's go ahead and open Word. So here is Word. I can go ahead and create a blank document, but let's see what Word can do. I'm going to scroll down. So right here, we have some templates. I want to see what templates are available. Because remember, I can either create a flyer from scratch, or I can just pick a template and modify one. So I'll go ahead and scroll down. And let's see. I want to see more templates. So I'll go ahead and click here. I can also click on Create. That will bring me here as well. And here are some basic ones that I can use. So here's a resume. So I can preview these if I want to. Maybe I want a more modern resume. Let's see. I'll go for this one here. So I can preview it. This is a cover letter, actually. I'll go for this classic one. I'll preview this. So it gives you a nice preview of what the resume looks like. And the whole idea is that it's already created. You just need to go ahead and substitute your own information in here as well. So it's a great way. You don't always have to start with a blank document. Feel free to use a template to get some work done. Let's see if I can find a nice flyer down here. Here's a student report or a research paper. A lot of different things in here that we can use. I'm going to click on Create. This will give me access to more. So once I click on Create, I can see now I'm presented with more options. I can start with a template, and look at that. Here's some flyers. So I want to go ahead and find a flyer. So I'll click on Flyer here, and lots of nice flyers to choose from. Financial business flyer, open house flyer. If you click on one, can't preview it here, you can click on it, and this will actually open it for us. So I'll go ahead and open this one, this elegant spring flyer here. And what it does, it opens it up in Microsoft Word for the web. Notice we have a web page here that we're working with. The way this works is you can replace all the text that are in these different boxes and make it your own. So that's how we can access Microsoft Word. When we come back, we'll go ahead and just make some basic changes to this and see what it looks like if we were to print it out. So I signed up for office.com for free. I was able to log into office.com. I was able to find the Word app. I searched the template gallery for a spring flyer. And now here it is. I can go ahead and start entering information. The main thing to know is that we have what's called a ribbon, and we have what's called command groups. So for example, we spend most of our time in this command group because we can change the font size, we can change the color in here, we can make it bold or italicize or underline. And then over here in the paragraph command group, we can align text to the left or to the center. We can create lists in here as well. But in this case, we're just going to go ahead and modify this particular flyer. So to modify the flyer, let's scroll down. Let's see how big this is. So pretty nice page here. The whole idea is to enter your content in here. If we want to change any of the colors, we can. We can even change the picture if we want to. But it looks pretty good. So I'll just go ahead and enter some information. So for the event intro, I'll just say software training. And the event title, what's going on here? Okay, it doesn't like the uppercase. Okay, for the event title, I'll call this Microsoft Word. And the subtitle, I'll say this is the introduction. I can go ahead and scroll down. I can go ahead and type in a date. And I'll just put 11/20/2024. The time. Now, I don't have to use all of these, right? But I will put the time. I'll say, 10 a.m. And the location, I'll just say MSG from Madison Square Garden. And I don't need the full address. I'll just put New York, New York. And there we go. So just like that, I'm just entering the text. The placeholders were already there for me, and I'm good to go. Now, if I scroll down, I can see some of this text is a little too small. So what I can do is, notice when I highlight the text, I get this little quick bar that pops up here. Well, here I can change the font. I can change the font size. For example, I'll make it a slightly bigger, make it 14, a little easier to read. And I can change the color as well. So if I wanted to make it a different color, I can do that. Right now it's dark red. I can go for another color, or I can always go for the black. Right. I think I'll leave it there. And I can go ahead and just replace the text that's in here as well. So I'll just go ahead and add some content in here, and then I'll come right back. Okay, so I was able to add some text here, learn how to access Microsoft Word for free. I'll put these on different lines actually. Learn how to find the useful templates and access the library for research papers. Now let's see, it's still a little small. I'll make this a little bigger here. I'll make it 14. and I'll make it bold. That looks pretty good. Now over here to the right, I'll just put session 1. So again, I can just start typing right on top of it. So we'll have session 1, then we'll have a break, then we'll have session 2. So kind of our little schedule in here. So that looks pretty good. Now again, it saves automatically. So I don't need to click on File and Save. It saves automatically here. I do want to change the name though. So to do that, I can click on where it says Document 2 right here, and I can change the name. So I'll just call this Flyer, and I'll press Enter. And we can see it's saving automatically. So any change that I make, we'll see this little icon just kind of flicker, indicating that it's making the change for us. So for example, if I say session 1 is from 10, well, it starts at 10:15. And then our break is going to be at, let's say, 11:15. And then session 2 is going to start at, let's say, 12. So I can see it says saving. So it saves automatically for us. That looks pretty good. So I was able to modify an existing flyer. Let's see what this will look like if I were to print it. I'll click on the File tab here. I'll click on Print. And so it opens up in this print preview window, but this is exactly what it would look like once it's printed. So that looks pretty nice. I could probably even put a nice picture down here to kind of fill out the space, but I'm good to go. So I can either go ahead and print that to my actual printer, or I can save it as another format. Once I'm done, I'll just click on the X right here. That closes it for me. Now remember that first window that we logged into, that we went to search for our apps? If I go back there just to office.com, notice how it shows up as a recent file. So this file, every time we log in, regardless of which machine we log into, we can see our document right here. And if I click on it, I can open it right there and continue working on it. So pretty cool. So that's how we can modify an existing flyer using Microsoft Word. Now, let's go ahead and move on to the next segment here. We'll go ahead and create a research paper. Now, as we've seen before, we can search for a template right from office.com. I'm going to click on the app launcher here, and I'll go to Microsoft Word. Now at the very top, we can see some actual, let's see, here's a geometric student report. So we can either use a template, but let's go ahead and start with the blank document. Let's see what we can do. So we'll just put a few things in here. We'll put the title, and then we'll go ahead and put our name, maybe the date, right? And maybe the subtitle, things like that as well. And then we'll just go ahead and enter a few sections. We'll talk about what we've learned so far about computing. So I'll just start typing here at the very top, and I'll just say computer basics. And then once I press enter, it goes to the next line. So it's just, instead of writing with pen and paper, we're using our mouse and keyboard, entering text on this virtual paper, and we can press enter to go to the next line. We can see it's saving automatically. It's named it for me. That's perfectly fine. I'll leave it as computer basics. Now over here, I get this little icon where I can add a suggested image for computer basics. So I'll go ahead and click on here and let's see what it gives me. Okay, so it gives me a little Einsteinish looking, some formulas in here, but I can change it. I can go ahead and change it to one of these if I want to, a little more relevant. I'll go for this one. So this is one of the really nice features of using Word on the web. We get these really nice little extra details in here, such as the designer. So if I wanted to get some design ideas, I can use one of these. I'll apply that a little later. Okay, so computer basics. I'll go ahead and press enter. What I'll do, I'll just enter a simple table. So I'll click on the Insert tab, and here are tables. So I'll just insert a basic, let's say, 4x4 table. And this table will include my research. So I'll just say, in here, I'll put the question. And my first question is, well, what is a computer? On the next line here, I can go ahead and ask some other questions. I'll go ahead and fill these out. So just some basic questions in here. What is a computer? What are the components? What is the web? And how do we access the web? So I can just go ahead and start answering the information in here, right? So a computer, I'll say, it has to do with input, process, and output. Right? So at the very core, it's about inputting, processing, and outputting. The components consists of hardware, so software, and security. Hardware, software, and security. The web is the World Wide Web. We can access the web by using a web browser. And some pretty nice information in here. I can add some more detail over here to the right. For example, an example of a web browser is Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge. So where am I getting all this information from? This is a research paper, so I would need to, enter some information or cite some of the sources that I'm finding this information from. So what I'll do, I'll go ahead and click on the Review tab here. And let's see, now I'll click on the Insert tab. Just trying to see where they move this thing around here. Let's see, References, here we go. I'll go ahead and click on References. And what I can do is I can search for insights. Once I click here, it's going to open up a panel over to the right. And this will give me some nice articles that I can use. And I can go ahead and insert the citation for there as well. So I'll click on Search, and I'll ask a question. So I'll say, what is a computer? I'll press Enter. And it's giving me some articles here. Here's one from computerhope.com, techterms.com, techopedia.com. And here's one from gcfglobal.org. So typically when I'm looking for research, I'm looking for .orgs. When you see .org at the end of a website, it means that it is an organization. So they tend to have higher standards. So when it comes to research, either .org or .edu, which is for education. So I'll go ahead and click on, now what I can do is I can click here. This will open the article for me. And this gives me a nice little, some nice information in terms of what a computer is. Hardware versus software, different types of computers. This is actually a really, really nice website. So what I can do, if I'm gaining information from here, I can go ahead and I can insert the citation. So I can give credit or point to this as the source that I'm using. If I click on the three dots right here, I can go ahead and use cite. So let's see what this looks like here. Let's see if this will fit in this cell over here to the right. I'll go ahead and click on cite. And there you go. So it actually puts in the citation. So over here, I can go ahead and just type citation. And it puts in the citation for me, the name of the article and the link to that resource. So that is pretty cool, right? So pretty nice. So here's the question, here's the answer, and then we have some notes in here. And that's how we can do that as well, right? Let's see, what are the components of a computer? I'll do one more. Now let's see if I can find an edu or a .org. Here we go, Khan Academy. I'll go ahead and click on here. I already know this is going to be a good resource, so I'll go ahead and cite that as well. And there we go. So pretty cool. If I click here, Khan Academy is very nice. I've used that for a lot of instructing younger students. Really nice option here. And here we go. This is what we talked about. Input, process, output. So we can see the consistency here. The memory and the CPU are taking care of the processing aspect. So very good. So that's how we can create a research paper. Again, just kind of aligning things, but you want to include your citations. Once you're done, it saves automatically. And from here, you're just making cosmetic changes. So for example, the computer basics, I'll go ahead and give this a title style, make it nice and big. And for my table here, I'll just click on the table design tab and I'll choose one of these table designs. I'll go for this one. And there we go. Nice research paper. If I click on the File tab, I can click on Print to see what this will look like. And there we go. Nice little sheet here that we can use. So that's how we can create a research paper for free using Word Online, using the built-in citations. For this segment, we'll go ahead and use another popular application that's a part of Microsoft Office, Microsoft PowerPoint. We can create presentations. We'll go ahead and create and edit a presentation. We'll include some pictures, shapes, and we'll insert some infographics as well. Well, guess what? I'm going to head back over to office.com. This time I'll click on the app launcher and I'll go ahead and launch PowerPoint. Just like with Word, we'll have the same ribbon interface at the top. We can also go ahead and use a particular theme if we want to, or I can go ahead and start from a blank presentation. Let's see. I'll take a look at some of these themes. Let's see if I find anything that I like. Some pretty nice ones in here. Let's just preview one. And I do want something that has to do with computing. So that's fine. Let's take a look at this chalkboard one here. Right. So more so for education. So pretty nice. Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and create a one from scratch. So I'll create a blank presentation here. So here is PowerPoint. Here is our first slide. This is a title slide. We need to go ahead and enter our title and our subtitle. And then I can add some more slides here to add some more context. So I'll stick with the computing theme. I'll call this one Computer Basics. And you know what? I'll say Computing Basics. So I'll say Computing, and I'll just say Basics. So there's my first slide. Now, what's really nice is we have what's called the designer. So if we take a look up here on the top right, if I click here, this will give me some nice designs. Right now, it's just plain black and white. I don't have any colors or accents or anything in here. So I'll click on the designer and let's see what options it gives me. Okay, I mean, these look pretty nice, but if I add a picture of a computer, this will give me many more options to choose from. So I'll go ahead and add a picture. To add a picture, I'll click on the Insert tab here. And here are pictures. I can insert a picture from my device, or I can search the web, or I can look for stock images. I'll go ahead and insert a stock image. And I'll just look for computer. And let's see which ones appear here. These are all free to use from Microsoft Stock. So let's see. I'll grab this one here. Now, when we add images to a slide, the designer, as you can see, is giving us some really, really nice options. Right? So just by adding a picture, this one looks pretty nice. I'll go ahead and click on here. And look at that. It converted that slide into a really nice looking slide for me. Everything is placed really, really nice. I can change that if I want to, but I'm good to go. I'll go ahead and insert another slide. So right here on the Home tab, I can go ahead and insert a new slide. So I'll click on New Slide. It inserts the basic slide. So we have the title, and then I can add content to this content placeholder below. So this one, I'll just say this is the topics. And in here, I'll go ahead and put my outline in here. The topics here consists of computing. Let's see. We'll put computing impact on society. I'll press the Enter key. Say, what is a computer? And then components. And that's it. We'll keep it simple. So computing impact on society. What is a computer? And what are the components of a computer? So I'll go ahead and insert a few more slides, one for each one. So I'll insert 3 slides. So I'll just click here, 1, 2, 3 times. All right. The first one is going to be the computing impact on society. I can copy this to the clipboard, click on slide number 3, and I can paste this in here. I don't want the bulleted list though. And then for the next one, I'll go ahead and add the titles for the other 2. For the sake of time, here we go. So here's our title slide. Here's our topics. Here's the computing impact on society. What is a computer? And computer components as well. So for here, let's see if I can get some. Let's see if I can convert this into something else. So I will click on the designer. And let's see what the designer will give me here. So it's kind of giving me some nice options. It's creating an infographic for me. So we can see we have some icons here with some text. So that's converting it to smart art. I can click on see more design ideas if I don't like what I see so far. And let's see. You know what? This one looks good. I'll go ahead and click on here. And you can see this is using what's called smart art. We know this is smart art because once I click on it, we can see the smart art appear here on the ribbon. So smart art is the process of converting text into an infographic, and PowerPoint can and will do that for you. I can even change it to another type of graphic once I'm finished here. But I like it. It's good to go. I'll go ahead and click on the next one here. Now I can add my text in here if I want to, but I do want another smart art graphic. So I'll click on smart art here. Okay. And it's inserted smart art for me. And I just want to go ahead and enter a couple of bullet points over here in this text pane. So I'll just say overall, we have positive impact and we have risks when it comes to technology. I'll go ahead and delete those other bullets. And here we have a nice little slide. We can see smart art is creating an infographic for us. No pictures though. I could convert this to another type of smart art graphic. There's a lot of infographics in here that I can use. Some will allow me to incorporate pictures if I want to. But this looks pretty good. If I want something more like let's say a vertical bullet list, I can do that. I can also use the designer to give me something like that's a little consistent with the other slide. So there we go. Overall, positive, and risks. Well, I'll go ahead and just add a couple of bullet points for here as well. And then I'll go ahead and add the computer components. So here we go. I'll go ahead and convert this one as well. Now I don't have to keep using that same format. If I want something more like this, I can go ahead and do that as well. Right? So incorporating visuals with text and shapes, so pretty nice. Right? This one looks pretty nice as well. Pretty nice, big and bold. So that looks pretty good. Then finally for this one, I'll use the designer again. Nothing wrong with using the designer. It makes quick work of your slides when you're trying to find the right design. So I'll go ahead and use this one and I'm good to go. So there's my presentation. Now I simply need to click on the present slideshow here and that will present for me. So it's entering into slideshow mode. Here's that first slide. To navigate through the slides, I can either click on the slide or use the arrow keys to go forward and back. So pretty nice. And that's how we can create a presentation using PowerPoint for free online. Let's take a look at Microsoft Excel, a very popular application. It's one of the most, in my opinion, probably the most popular Microsoft Office application because we can create a worksheet, we can create charts, we can make calculations, formulas, and functions as well. Well, let's keep it simple. We'll go ahead and create a workbook with a worksheet. We'll insert a chart from some existing data. And we'll take a look and see how we can use formulas and functions as well. Well, back to office.com. I'll go back to my app launcher here, and I'll go ahead and click on Excel. Now, Excel is a spreadsheet program. I'll go ahead and click on blank workbook here. We have templates just like the other applications. I'll go ahead and click on blank workbook. So Excel is all about storing data, being able to access that data. That's pretty much what Excel is for. So you can have small tables, small lists and tables in Excel. You can have thousands of rows. It's all about storing your data, whether you're just using Excel for a personal monthly budget or you're tracking projects, a lot of different things that we can do. Well, let's put into practice what we've learned so far. I'm already in Google Chrome. I'll click on the plus tab here to open up a new tab. And I'll go ahead and search for computer sales for 2024. Here we go. It's accessing all of these computers that has the information on it. This is from Gartner.com. I'm just looking for a good source to use. That's okay. I'll go ahead and click here. What I'm looking for is a table. And here we go. Here's a nice table that I can use. I can actually just go ahead and copy this table. So if I highlight it, I can right click. I can copy it to the clipboard. Then I'll go back to Excel and let's see if I can click on this first cell here. And I'm going to right click and let's see if I can paste that in here. And there you go. I was able to go ahead and paste the data over. So now I have some nice data to be able to work with. Okay, so when you're working in Excel, we have rows. Here's row 1. We have columns. Here's column H. The intersection of a row and a column is called a cell. So here's column H. Here is row 2. So this intersection right here, this is H2. We can see it right here in the name box as well. So when you're working in Excel, you're working with rows and columns and cells, and you're also working with what's called sheets. So this is my sheet. I can rename that. Right now it's called sheet 1. I'm going to go ahead and rename that. So I can either double click on it or I can right click and rename. I'll right click and I'll rename it. And I'll just call this one Computer Sales 2024. Once I'm finished, I'll go ahead and press enter. Now, a little bit of formatting we need to do in here because we can see, actually it's pretty good. We can still read the data, but we can see the different companies here. They're kind of wrapping the text to the next line. So I can just make this column wider by dragging this bar right here to the right. So I'll place my cursor right here. I'll just make that column a little wider. Now I can see all those names properly. I can do the same thing for the rest of these columns. As a matter of fact, if I double click right here at the intersection, so if I double click, that will actually automatically resize that column for me. So I'll double click here. Okay, it's not working for me. Oh, I see why. It's wrapping the text. That's why. Okay, so I'll go ahead and just unwrap the text. I'll highlight these cells here. I'll unwrap the text. Now I can go ahead and fix all of those columns. So just a little bit of formatting. We can see that the text up here is bold. Okay. But let's focus on, I just want to focus on these first two columns, the company and the amount of shipments that they have. So I'll go ahead and actually delete these. So I'll highlight the data over here. And I'll click on the clear icon right here. This will clear all the data, all the formatting from those cells. Right. Okay, there we go. So just let's see. This doesn't look right. Let me go back to this and let's see. Okay, that's fine. I'll leave it as is. Okay, so we have the shipments here. So 14,822. Now we can see a total in here. Let's see how we can get the total from all those numbers. So if we add these numbers up here, we should get a total. I'll show you a little hint right here. It's actually telling us the total right here. Once I highlight those cells, the total is 60,693. But let's use a calculation for that. Let's use what's called a function. Now, in order to use this function, I need to do three things. So here's 1, 2, 3. First thing I need to do is insert the function. I'll type fx for function. I'll select the data that I want to summarize, and then press enter. The function will do the work for us. That's the beauty of it. On the Home tab, all the way to the far right, we have the auto sum. Underneath, lots of things that we can do. Right now, we just want to summarize the data. So I'll go ahead and click on this cell right here, where I want to summarize those shipments. Step 1, I'll go ahead and insert the sum function. Step 2, I'll select the data I want to summarize. So I'll just highlight all of these cells here and press enter. There you go, 60,693. Let's enter a calculation. In column C, I want to put the market share. So I'll type market share in here. I'll press enter. I'll make this bold so it looks just like this one here. As a matter of fact, what I can do, this has a graphic web font and it's size 14. I'll make this size 14 as well. And let's see if I can change that to the graphic web. Don't know if I'll be able to find that. Nope, can't find it. That's fine. What I can do, click on this one. I'll click on my friend, the format painter here, and then I'll highlight this one. That will copy the formatting from one cell to the next. I'll click on Format Painter, and I'll go ahead and click on this cell. So there you go. Okay, the main thing we want to do here is we want to go ahead and calculate the market share. So basically, what is 14, right? So I could say equals 14,822 divided by 60,693. That should give me a percentage. Gives me 24%. Right. I can convert that to a percentage by clicking on the number format here and choosing the percentage. That gives me 24%. Right. Now, in this one, I typed the numbers in, but I can also use the cell reference. For the second one, when you type the equal sign, you're letting Excel know that you want to perform a calculation. So what I'll do is I'll click on that number, that 13,691, and I'll divide that by 60,693. If I press enter, it gives me 22%. It's a decimal, so again, I'll click on the drop down here and just change it to a percentage. There we go. Well, guess what? I don't have to write that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more times. What I can do is I can grab my little fill handle right here. If I pull this down to row 8, this will perform the calculations for me. So I'll go ahead and do that. I'll grab that little square, I'll pull it down. And so here are our calculations for the actual market share. I'll go ahead and summarize this column. This should give me 100%. So again, I'll use the sum. I'll select all those numbers. I'll press enter. And there we go. So pretty nice. So that's how we can use some simple functions and calculations in Excel. When we come back, we'll create a chart, maybe 2 charts to visualize this data. Very good. Let's go ahead and create some chart visuals in here. Now, I do have some inconsistencies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make all of these the same font. So I'll change it back to Aptos Narrow, and I'll make them all the same size. So I want them all to be 14. This way I get a little consistency in the actual data. This one's not behaving. I'll make this 14. And there we go. I'll also go ahead and center align everything. So I'll highlight my list here, and I'll just use the center align command here. There we go. That looks nice and neat. Now that I have the data highlighted, I want to go ahead and insert a chart to create a nice visual to tell a story of what's going on here. I'll click on the Insert tab, and I'll click on Recommended Charts. Excel is going to take a look at my data and recommending a chart that can be used for this data. So I'll click here. It's analyzing my data, and here's a chart. So it's giving me the market share by company and the shipments by company. That one looks pretty good. If I scroll down, I have some other ones in here that I can use. I'll go ahead and insert this one, that very first one. My mouse will behave. So here's my chart. I'll close this window over here. So here we go. If I move my mouse over those bars, it tells us exactly what it's showing us. So shipments for Lenovo, 14,822. Shipments for HP, 13,691. The orange line represents the market share. Let's see if we can get a description here. So we can see the market share is represented on the right here, that orange, and then the actual shipment in thousands is indicated over here on the left. Well, I'll click on the chart tab that appears for this chart, and let's see what I can do here. Can I add a style in here? If I click on Format, I don't really want to do that. Let's see. What about another type of chart? I'll click on Other Chart, and we get some other type of charts in here that we can use. Here is a tree map, which is pretty cool. So I'll click on Tree Map. Now the tree map only displays one value at a time. Let's see what it's displaying here. Okay, so this looks like can't really tell what it's displaying, but we can force the chart to show what we want it to show. Right now it's showing everything. I'll go ahead and just click on this little icon here, and I just want to focus on these shipments. So now when I do that, I'm just focusing on the shipments. And now when I mouse over, I can see I'm getting some more detail in here. So the bigger the box, the bigger the amount. As expected, this one should be Lenovo. Let's see. Yeah, Lenovo is this one. And Acer is this purple one here as well. Okay, let's see what else we can do in here. What about turning on the legend? I'll show the legend at the right. There it is. What about some of the data labels? So we can see the names are appearing here in terms of that. All right, that looks pretty good. I'll go ahead and move this over here. And I'll go ahead and highlight some more data. This time I'll highlight, let's see, I just want the shipments and the market share. I don't want the total in there. So I'll click on Insert again, and I'll click on Recommended Charts. Let's see what it gives me this time. This time I have a better chart this time, displaying the shipment and the market share. Let's scroll down. Let's see what else we get here. This one is just the shipment, thousands. I'll go for this one. And pretty nice. I'll make this bigger. Let's see what type of formatting we can actually get in here. So if I click on Format, these are very complex. So these are just some other, we can format all the individual elements for this particular chart. Let's go back to Recommended Charts. Let's see if we can get something else in here. It's doing a lot of thinking, so it's refreshing a lot here. That looks good. I have two different charts here displaying different pieces of information. So this looks pretty good. I'll go ahead and move these here and I'm good to go. So that's how we can create charts from our data set. It's a matter of highlighting the data that you want to be displayed in the chart and choosing a recommended chart. Now, even though you select a chart, if you click on the chart tab here, you can always go ahead and change it to another type of chart, such as a 2D column or pie charts and so forth and so on. I want to convert this one to a pie chart. Let's see if that looks a little better. Ah, that looks a lot better. Now we're getting some better indicators in here. The orange is HP, 23% of the total. Also, the amount of shipments are showing there as well. So this one is a home run. That looks pretty good. For this one, maybe I just want to focus on the actual shipments. And there we go. So that's how we can create charts from our data set using Excel. You can create more than one chart on the data set, but again, you just want to be able to tell a story based on the visual that you have on your screen. Now that we've used a few Microsoft Office applications online, one of the things that we can do, if you do have the desktop application, what I can do is I can download this. So if I click on the File tab, I'll click on Create a Copy. I want to go ahead and download a copy of this file. And once it's downloaded, it will show up in this case, it's showing up in my Downloads folder. So I'll go ahead and bring that over here. So here's my Downloads folder. So I can go ahead and open this in Excel. So if I just double click on it, I can open it here. And let's see what that looks like. So here's that file in Excel. And there are some differences between, the free version of Excel, Word, and PowerPoint and the desktop paid version here. We can see if I click on this chart, these two charts that I created, I have more options here, right? So for example, for the chart design, I can choose another chart style. And if I click on here, there's a lot of other things that we can do, right? So while the online version is free, it is very useful. The benefit of using the desktop application is that we have many more options that are available, whether we're using Word, PowerPoint, or Excel. So choose whichever one you want to. Either use the desktop application or you can use the online version for free. That wraps up our Computer Basics course here. Now, what we've learned so far is that technology impacts us on a daily basis. The web is a very popular form of technology. Billions of people, individuals access information on the web on a daily basis, and beyond trillions of data is being input, processed, and output on a daily basis. We understand that computers is the process of inputting, processing, and outputting information, whether you're using a phone, a laptop, a desktop, a tablet, whether you're using a television. There's a lot of different computers that follows this protocol. We took a look at the Windows operating system, which allows us to input, process, and output information. There are other types of operating systems like iOS, Android, Linux, Mac OS, Chrome OS, but in this case, we focused on the Windows operating system. And software like Word, PowerPoint, and Excel allows us to be productive. So congrats on completing the course, and I hope to see you in a future course.